In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, one God. Amen. Yesterday we concluded one journey, which is the journey of Lent. And today we begin a new journey. A journey of 1 week, literally actually is 10 days. And it's more detailed and more intense, more engaging to those who enter into the journey and not check out. This journey that I'm going to do tonight, I'm going to actually give you the itinerary, give you exactly what we are going through, and keep that in mind from year to year. It helps a lot to know what you are going to see, where you're going to visit, what you're going to hear, what you're going to see. Any tour needs some information, itinerary, so that you actually get the most out of it. To get the most out of the Pascha, of the Holy Week, you need to know the big picture. And as we learned with the younger classes, we can make the itinerary in 10 days in 2 words each day, so that's 20 words. If you memorize those 20 words, you got the bigger picture of the Holy Week. Those of you who knows, you can say it with me. So it starts with, it's 10 days. Lazarus, Saturday. Palm, Sunday. Fig tree, Monday. Parables, Tuesday. Betrayal, Wednesday. Covenant, Thursday. Good Friday. Bright, Saturday. Resurrection, Sunday. Emmaus, Monday. Can we say it one more time? One more time. Lazarus, Saturday. Palm, Sunday. Fig tree, Monday. Parables, Tuesday. Betrayal, Wednesday. Covenant, Thursday. Good Friday. Bright Saturday. Resurrection, Sunday. Emmaus, Monday. 10 days. So let me tell you the story, and maybe if you had not memorized those days and the titles of them, you can actually remember them by the story. It's always easy to remember a story, always. So Jesus somewhere, we don't know where, and we don't know even when. Sometime, somewhere, maybe in Galilee. It would take him at least a day to get to Bethany. How do I know that it's a day? Because the man came to him to tell him, the messenger, the 2 sisters are calling you, their brother is sick, Lazarus is sick. By the time he reaches there and leaves, it is 2 days. Apparently Lazarus died the day the man left. So he's somewhere, maybe in Galilee. Takes a very strong man, maybe around in Galilee, in South Galilee. So they tell him, the one that you love is sick. So Jesus actually stays 2 days where he was. 2 more days. He doesn't go immediately to see Lazarus. And then when he arrives in Bethany, well, what he finds is Lazarus has been dead for 4 days. Then we know that Jesus goes to raise Lazarus from the dead after 4 days being in a tomb. The timing is very important. Jesus is going to raise Lazarus maybe a couple of weeks, I'm just saying, within a couple of weeks of Passover. When the people come to Jerusalem, especially the males with their families sometimes, to attend the feast in the city. So it's a big feast. You know how tomorrow is the busiest day for the church, even busier than resurrection? Something like this was happening in Jerusalem. Everyone comes to Jerusalem. Some of the historians, like Josephus, would say Jerusalem and the area around it will be packed by Jews from everywhere. Up to 2 million people will be in a small city. When I say city, it's not, actually Chapel Hill is bigger. Chapel Hill is much bigger than Jerusalem at the time and still today. The old Jerusalem is very small. How do you get 2 million people in a small place like this? They would pitch tents. They would sleep in the houses. They sleep out in the fields. It's springtime. They light some fire and they just stay over. So the Passover was in the time of this event of raising Lazarus. But then after he raised Lazarus, something very important happened the same day. When he raised Lazarus from the dead and called him out, the same day, Jews from Jerusalem went to see the miracle, to say condolences to the sisters, and saw the miracle. They went back and told the leaders, the Pharisees and the high priests and everybody in Jerusalem, when they are very, very busy doing business, told them, you know what, this prophet from Galilee raised the man 4 days later. What did the high priest say? Remember? You have no idea how it is important for us to kill him. We need to get rid of this man because he's going to create a lot of disturbance, and we cannot take that. So the decision to kill Jesus and put him on the cross was made the day Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead. That was the decision. That's why what happened on Lazarus' resurrection is extremely important to begin the Holy Week. Then Jesus, knowing that this is going to happen, look at what the Lord did. The time before raising Lazarus till tonight, which is the feast, we don't know how much, but Jesus spent it in a place out in the country called Ephraim. Ephraim was actually close to Jerusalem. We know the city. We know it, where it is. Today, there is a Benedictine monastery over there. It's a place between the green and the sand. At the turf, at the borders of the green, out in the desert. I'll show you where this is, so that you know exactly what I'm talking about in the Gospel of John, in the chapter 11, where we actually are today. I want to read this with you because it's a very interesting place where the Gospel mentions briefly what did Jesus do in that time. Therefore, Jesus no longer walked openly among the Jews, but went from there, from Bethany, into the country near the wilderness, on the border of the green, to a city called Ephraim, and there remained with his disciples. And the Passover of the Jews was near, and many went out from the country up to Jerusalem before the Passover to purify themselves. And they wondered, will he come to the feast? They were waiting for him. So then comes chapter 12, which is today we read. And then 6 days exactly before the Passover. So there is a time actually between when Jesus raised Lazarus and when they had the party, the feast. It didn't happen in the same day. We in the church celebrated in the same day because we have no other time to celebrate it. We're going to have to link the two together so you and I can think about it. So he came to Bethany, and there they had this feast. And in the feast, in the big dinner, Mary, the sister of Lazarus, takes the jar of ointment, which many thought this was her keep for her marriage. When she gets married, this is the perfume that she used for her husband. And this is going to be done twice, today and Wednesday. Today is the first time, and Wednesday is the next time. And it's very beautiful to see these women, these virgins who had not been married, not using their beauty, their gifts to attract a husband, but they want to give it to Jesus. One at his feet and the other on his head. So between Mary and the woman on Wednesday, he's completely covered with perfume, and he's going to smell like that to the end of the week. Even on the cross, people will smell that perfume. It's a very expensive one. And you know, and I know, expensive perfumes last. They stay longer because they're natural essence, and they stay longer. So after this tonight, everybody came from Jerusalem to see this wonder man, Lazarus. Not only to see Jesus the prophet, but they wanted to see the man who was the miracle. In the morning tomorrow, which is Palm Sunday, so Lazarus Saturday is today because we have two events. In the morning we remember Jesus raising Lazarus, and at night we remember the feast. Tomorrow, and this is what the gospel says, very important. Tomorrow, and this is said, it says, the next day, a great multitude that had come to the feast for the Passover, when they heard that Jesus was coming to Jerusalem, they took branches of palm trees and went out to meet him and cried out, Hosanna, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord, the King of Israel. Then Jesus, when he had a young donkey, sat on it, and as it is written, and the prophecies. And then, listen to this. Therefore the people who were with him, when he called Lazarus out of his tomb and raised him from the dead, bore witness. For this reason, the people also met him, because they heard that he had done this sign. Why did Palm Sunday happen in the Gospel of John? Because of Lazarus. Because what happened with Lazarus? So Jesus raising Lazarus caused two things. Two things happening. Everyone in Jerusalem heard about him, and they started to come out and greet him as their king. The Jews and the leaders of the Jews, the Pharisees and the high priest and the rest of them wanted to kill him, because now he's becoming so famous and he's going to cause disturbance in the balance of power between them and the Roman. He's going to change things. If he's the king, the Romans are not going to talk to them. They will now go talk to Jesus, because he's now the popular one. So they felt like we're going to lose the politics of it. We have been building this politics that much. How can we give it to someone else? So Palm Sunday, Jesus goes through the city and he's celebrated as the king. And as he finishes his tour, he goes to the temple and starts finding the stuff in it. By the way, there is a big comparison, if you don't know, between him and David. David is the one who cast out the last Canaanites in the land, the last pagan people who worshipped idols from Jerusalem. This was his last piece to clean, the king of Israel, and people received him as the king. Jesus now is going to clean the temple. He's the new David. The next day, he has to come again and do it all over again. You know how we say things about don't, even in the church. Don't do this in the church. And then after I say it one time, what happens? After a while, it comes back. Then what do you need to do? You do it again. And it comes back. What do? You do it again until you make sure it is clean. So he had done it at least twice, Sunday and Monday. But listen, morning time, he goes to the temple to do preaching, talking, teaching, miracles. Nighttime, where he goes? Back to Bethany. Why is he going to Bethany? Because there's no place in Jerusalem. If you need to stay in Jerusalem, it's almost like attending a football game here in North Carolina at UNC in the season, in the league time, and you're trying to find a room in a hotel. What would happen? All is packed and it's very expensive. So poor people cannot stay in Jerusalem in the feast because it's very expensive, and it's only for people who can afford this. So poor people have to go out of Jerusalem, and Jesus have a place to stay, which is Bethany, with Lazarus, Martha, and Mary. So every day in the morning, early morning, he would come down from Bethany, from the Mountain of Olives. Mountain of Olives a little bit higher than Jerusalem. You can look from the Mountain of Olives, and the classic picture of Jerusalem is taken from the Mountain of Olives, where you see the dome of the rock and all that stuff. This is from the Mountain of Olives. You go down in the valley of Kidron, you come up the hill of Zion, and then you can be in Jerusalem. It's about 20 minutes, really. If any one of you had visited the Holy Land, you know what I'm talking about. So in the morning, next morning, he comes down and he sees this fig tree. He didn't have breakfast for some reason. He went up maybe earlier than they expected. We don't know, but he's hungry. And he looks, this fig tree has a lot of leaves, beautiful, attractive fig tree. And then you know the story. And he thought, this is not the time for figs. Why the fig tree is is blooming. What is the story? Because fig trees. We used to have fig trees in my grandmother's yard. So I know that the sprouts, when the fig tree comes in the spring, it gives the green shoots, the sprouts together, both the leaves and the fruits. They come together, which is a little bit different than any other tree. And then by the time the leaves are big and full, the fruits are ripe and sweet. So people who knows fig trees, you get to know that when the fig tree is very leafy, then it is actually also have fruits. But Jesus come to it to find fruits. He doesn't find any fruit. And it seems like it's inviting him for something, but the fig tree doesn't have it. So what does he end up doing? Cursing the fig tree, and it dies. That's Monday morning. So the whole Monday, we call it the fig tree because it's a symbol of showing off, hypocrisy. It's a symbol of the city. It's a symbol of Jerusalem, which Jerusalem is a big city. You have 2 million people attending the feast. Seems like a city of God, a city of prayer, a city of piety. But what is the story? It is not a good city. It's actually going to kill the Lord, her God. It's planning to do that. The city is planning, is brewing with evil. On the surface it looks good, but inside of it is a lot of hypocrisy, a lot of evil. Tuesday comes, and Jesus back and forth. Jesus comes back, and usually when you get at nighttime, which is the night Pascha, you hear Jesus teaching about things. So Tuesday is the day when he actually reveals his time of the cross. He says, it will be 3 days, and I will be on the cross. So he's talking about Friday, from Tuesday to Friday. And this is when he reveals the cross, and then his disciples gets a little alarmed, and they start asking him about his second coming. So nighttime comes, a lot of parables on the second coming. One of the most famous parables is the 10 virgins. You can have that on Tuesday. So we call Tuesday of parables. Saturday of Lazarus, Palm Sunday, Lazarus Saturday, Palm Sunday, Fig Tree Monday, Parables Tuesday. And Tuesday is talking about the second coming and what we have been doing to offer to the Lord when he comes again. Will we have enough oil to give him the light that he had given us? Wednesday is a day where we end this scrutiny, the end of a rebuke, I would call it. Because on this day, he's at night in the house of Simon the Pharisee, and a woman comes with another jar of oil, and she's pouring it on his head. At the same time, another disciple who's very close to him, who holds the money, goes to do what? He had got fed up with it. He doesn't want any more of it because he feels like Jesus is talking about cross, talking about bad things is going to happen, and then he is not interested. He wants money. It doesn't seem like this is going to bring a lot of money. So he was saying to himself, what can I get out of this and get out? Give me whatever I can take. To get from him is better than him. That's what they say. To get from him is better than him. So I want to get whatever I can so I can get out with some money. So he goes to the Jews, which he knew, everybody knew, that they were actually trying very hard to find him a place or a time where they can be delivered. And it seems like one of the disciples have to do it. So Wednesday is the Wednesday of betrayal. That's why when I have it in my mind, I have two things. I have a bottle of perfume and a bag of money. Between the two, we have to figure out our lives. Between the two, right? The bottle of perfume or the bag of money. It's always this choice. Which way I go? I go to what seems like very profitable, very interesting right now, or I give Jesus my life. It's the giving or taking, right? So the day is called the day of betrayal. So we'll go back, Lazarus Saturday, Palm Sunday, Fig Tree Monday, Parables Tuesday, Betrayal Wednesday. Come early morning on Thursday, Jesus sent two disciples. He said to them, it's Peter and John. Early morning, he says to them, well, let us eat the Passover. And there's big debate. Was it Thursday or Friday? That's not the point. But Jesus is going to eat with them Passover on Thursday. So he says to them, there's a certain way to prepare for Passover. The women usually bake the unleavened bread, prepare the table, and the men will go to the market, buy the lamb, get the animal that will be killed. They take it to the temple for the priest to examine it, make sure that it's actually without a blemish, nothing wrong with it. They go to the market, buy the maror, which is the bitter herbs, and they get a good wine for the Passover. That's what the men to do. The head of the house would have to go and look for any old bread in the house and clean it. Usually the women and the children help him with that. And they take all whatever leftover bread and they burn it. They're not supposed to enter the Passover with old bread. So Jesus asked the two disciples, Peter and John, he says, they're Bethany. Remember, they are in Bethany, early morning. They're not yet in Jerusalem. He's going to go to this time to Jerusalem. He's not coming back. That's it. So he's saying to them, go to the city. When you enter from the gate of the city, the gate that faces the mountain of Zion, they call it the gate of Damascus, a big gate. So when you enter the gate, you find a man carrying a jar of water on his shoulder. Follow that man. And wherever he enters, talk to the owner of the house. And we know who the owner is. Is the father of St. Mark. And tell him where is the place where the master will celebrate the Passover with his disciples. And he will show you an upper room prepared, ready, and there prepare for us to eat the Passover. So the disciples do this, and after that they go to the market, they buy the sheep, they go to the temple to the priest to look at it, and the priest has to stamp it, and they take it, the priest has to take it and sacrifice it on the altar, shed the blood on the altar in a special place. Then they skin it, they give the skin to the priest, and they take the meat back to, they wrap it in a linen cloth. It has to be linen. And they wrap it in the linen cloth. They carry it on their shoulder and go back with it to the upper room. On their way, they take some bitter herbs and wine. Unless the owner of the house have some wine left, in the house, they use it. Now they go and they say to Jesus, we're ready. So Jesus goes with them at 3 p.m., and goes with them to the upper room. They close the door, and that's how they leave a window open. And sometimes, some tradition says you leave one door open for Elijah. But they sit together around the table, and they start the ritual. They start the ritual by washing their hands. In this case, Jesus washed their feet. And they began the ritual, the rite of Passover, where actually Jesus ate with them the Passover. It's four-course meal in a way. And during this, when he is done, they tell them, one of you will betray them. Everybody betray me. So everybody looks at each other and says, who is that? We will not betray you. St. Peter says, even if I have to die with you, I will not betray you. And everyone said that. And then Judas said, is it me? And Jesus said to him, you said it. That's it. That's all what's happening. So Peter asked John, can you tell him who's going to betray him? So can you ask him? And John leans on Jesus, which is a very interesting thing. Peter does not ask Jesus. He asked John to, which means within the disciples, it's understood that John is the secret keeper for Christ. He's the one you can ask him. This is a big deal because this began the idea of contemplative lives. You go to someone who's in the desert, who spend time with prayer, not the preacher, not the talker, not someone who is outgoing. You go to someone who's a prayer person to ask what would the Lord want, what does he say. So that's John. And Jesus tell him, whoever I dip the bread, he took the bread and dipped it in the bitter herbs or the vinegar or the wine, whatever they were dipping it like a sauce, and they give it to Simon Iscariot, Judas Iscariot. Then they get to finish. They sing a song like we sing a song at the end of the liturgy, and they they get out of Jerusalem, go down to the valley of Kidron, coming up the mountain of Zion. There is there at the foot of Mount Zion a place of pressing olives, an olive press. and the place is called Gethsemane, which translated the olive press. In that place, usually you have a little house where the press is, and apparently Jesus used this place to sit with his disciples on an afternoon, a quiet place. Apparently he knows the owner. And there he goes to pray. Judas actually knew this. He told the high priest and everybody, Jesus is there. If you want to catch him, this is the best time. Not too many people. It's dark. We're not going to create any noise. Nobody's going to be knowing about it. Let's go and do it. It's going to be dark. Let's get some light, fire. They go with fire. They get clubs. They get swords. And it was the temple guard, not the Roman soldiers. Temple guard, Jewish or even mercenaries of other cultures. They come with the servants of the high priest. The priests don't go. The Pharisees don't go. It is the servants who take the guards and go to get Jesus. So they go there and they find him. Jesus had prayed 3 times, very shortly, very short prayer. He says, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me. But if it is not, let it be your will, not mine. 3 times. That is the night of Thursday going Friday. And they get Jesus from there, and then the whole night is a terror. They take him, they chain him, they beat him, they spit on him, they take him to the high priest, interrogation after interrogation after interrogation, and then Peter stands from afar. He goes with John, who knew how to get Peter inside. He goes with him, and then there they witness this terrible trial. It's all injustice, all unfair. It's a desperate try from them to condemn Jesus for anything, and he has nothing to be condemned for. Until the high priests actually have no chance except by to swear on him. To swear on him says, we swear on you by the Most High, by God. What he's saying, but he's saying to him, by God, tell us, who are you? Are you the son of the Most High? And he says, you said it, and from now on you're going to see the Son of Man coming with the clouds of heaven. And the high priest is not a fool. He knows what he's talking about. He's bringing the image from Daniel. The image of Daniel. That there will be a person that's coming with the cloud of heaven who will be given dominion. And this person, the Jews understood at the time, he is the Son of God. So he, in a theatrical act, he's not really, he's angry or anything. Theatrical act, he's just tearing his clothes and saying he's blaspheming. What do you see? And they condemn him to be crucified. There is a piece here that the gospel is not clear, but we know that they didn't stay up all night until morning. They actually locked him up in a prison in the high priest's house. He was tied and locked up in the high priest's house. Until 6 o'clock in the morning, they wake up actively. And it's an important matter we need to get done in a feverish way. They take him and drag him to Pilate. So the whole night, which will be the Pascha on Eve of Friday, Thursday night, will be about the trial in the high priest's house. Denial of Peter, the rooster crowing, all these events, the people slapping him. He's answering the high priest, he's answering the people that's slapping him. He doesn't talk much, but whatever he says is to the point, and it is like he knows. This has to be done. By the way, you need to know that Jesus did not suffer this against his will. He intentionally wanted it, all of it. He was not sad. He was not crushed. He was not desperate. He knew all of it. He was not excited about it, I can tell you that, but he's excited about what will happen out of it. He's looking to what will happen after that, including his own resurrection, our own salvation, everything. So it is not a very sad thing, to tell you the truth. It's a sad mixed with joy, with hope, with something to look forward to. Like a labor, that's what he said. When a woman gives birth to someone, why is it okay? When a mother gives birth to a child, why is it okay for her to suffer? The only thing that's okay for her to look forward is the face of her baby, that child, the life that's going to come out of this labor. That was what he was looking for. Now, They take him to Pilate in the morning, that's the first hour. And then there, he gets tried, and Pilate doesn't see anything to deserve death. So what does he do? He wants to get out of it. He said, where is he from? He said, from Galilee. He told me, send him to Herod. Herod is in Jerusalem because of the feast. Send him to Herod. He's the king of Galilee. They send him to Herod. Herod is a fool. Herod is disgusting. He looks at him and says, I heard you can do miracles. I need some new entertainment, fresh entertainment. Do something for me. And Jesus looks at him and says, nothing. The person that Jesus said nothing to at all is Herod, because he's a fool. A person who wants fun, that's all what he lives for, fun. And you hear this word a lot. So he looks at him and says nothing. That's why sometimes when we are interested in only fun, you can hear nothing from God. There's nothing you can hear from God who is seriously seeking our salvation, and we're just seeking fun. Whether it's in friendship, whether it's a relationship, whether in acknowledgement or showing off, whatever. So Herod mocks him, and in his style, in his own style, he puts his robe, he takes his robe and put it on him. So you're a king, and he sent him away. Back to by the third hour, which is 9 o'clock in the morning now, from 6 to 9, this happens. 9 o'clock in the morning goes back to Pilate, and Pilate actually finds himself in a predicament. He says, if you release him, you're an enemy of Caesar. Why? Because he calls himself a king of the Jews. He's not under you. He doesn't believe in Caesar. He actually asks people not to pay taxes to Caesar. That's a lie. Then Pilate finds himself cornered. If he does not condemn him to die, the high priest is threatening to report him to Caesar. And this could end up being executed. Pilate can be killed. So he couldn't suffer this. He washed his hands as if this will make him innocent, and send Jesus to be crucified. Here, something happens. The soldiers were never told to beat Jesus severely. Were never told to make a crown of thorns. Were never told to mock him. Why did they do it? That is a mystery. But I tell you, the answer to it is very interesting. Because the soldiers are living in terror from the Jews. There were the what we call them, the zealots. The zealots used to go in the feasts, especially in the crowds. They're terrified from them. They go with a dagger, and they go in the crowd and stab a soldier a couple of times, and they run. Nobody knows what happened, and the soldier drops in his blood. So they're living in this terror all the time. Who is terrifying them? Jews, zealot Jews. So you have a king of the Jews under your hand. What would you do with him? So he gets the beating and gets the abuse that came from the hate of the Jews to the Romans. He takes it. So they do it to him out of the spite, out of revenge. We want to get this done in the most horrible way so we can actually get our anger out. Jesus was really a scapegoat. Then they take him and put him on the cross, but they beat him so bad. The beating of the scourges are so bad. The shroud, which we will hang up tomorrow, you will see the amount of beating on his skin everywhere. Then he stays on the cross only for 3 hours. From noon to 3 p.m. At 3 p.m., he puts his head down. Actually, from 12 to 3, it's darkness. It's terrible darkness that everybody's wondering what's going on, even people outside Judea. And then at the 9th hour, which is 3 p.m., he puts down his head after screaming, my God, why have you forsaken me? And then unto your hands I commit my spirit. And that's it. There's a lot of things to be said about this. Is not the time for it. I'm just giving you the overarching, the big picture. Then when he gives up his soul, a terrible earthquake happened. And then the temple veil is rented. The tombs are opened. Many dead people started to rise up but never moved out of the place where the tombs are. And then they take him down from the cross at 11th hour. They put him in the tomb by 6 p.m. in a hurry, in a big hurry. That's why Jesus said these two women had done it to bury me. Why? There will be no time to do it on Friday. No time whatsoever. They usually do some rituals for cleaning and perfuming the body, but there is no time. They have to do it because Saturday is coming, and that Saturday was the Passover, after the Passover Saturday, then they cannot do anything about it. Saturday, all is in the tomb. Nobody moves. Nothing, even the Lord doesn't move. And then on Sunday morning, early morning, just at sunrise, an earthquake happened at the area where the tomb is, and the stone is moved. But then when the women enters, there is nothing there. The body disappeared. Jesus appeared to them after the fact. So we know that Jesus actually rose from the dead while the stone was on. He went through the tomb without needing to raise or lift the stone. And then after that, they saw him. And he started to appear to many of his disciples. The reason why he appeared and in many places is to bring them all back to one place, which is the upper room. The reason why Jesus appeared to Mary Magdalene, why he appeared to the 2 disciples of Emmaus, to Peter, and to other people, is to bring them all back to the upper room. He's going to start a new church, the new temple, the new place of worship, and he wants them all to be together. That's what the church is. So what the church is at the end of this gospel is this, where Jesus meets his disciple physically to give them his body and blood. And after that, 40 days of continuous, glorious, beautiful, joyful, uninterrupted happiness in 40 days. Yes, they're scared, but they're very happy. Yes, they're trying to be not, low-key, not to show off, not to say anybody anything, but they are actually extremely happy. So this is, and the same day, actually, the 2 disciples of Emmaus was on Sunday. Why we do it on Monday? Simple. Because we cannot pray another liturgy on Sunday. We have one account to talk about on Sunday, which is the resurrection. The second part about the 2 disciples of Emmaus is going to have another day. This is a story for another day. So we extend the Holy Week one more day to Sham al-Nisim, to the Monday of Emmaus. But it's actually happened on the same day, on Sunday. This is the journey, and very short. And that's what we are going to do in the next 10 days. So let's do one more revision, so that I hope by now you memorized it. Lazarus, Saturday. Palm Sunday. Fig tree Monday. Parables Tuesday. Betrayal. Covenant. Good Friday. Bright Saturday. Resurrection Sunday. Emmaus Monday. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and the Holy Spirit.